The Voice of the Wind. Isabel, a 10-year-old girl, lived in the quiet village of San Vicente, Argentina, nestled between majestic mountains and lush green valleys. The year was 1989. His life was simple, marked by the innocence of childhood and the curiosity inherent to his age. Living with her parents and two younger brothers, Isabel spent her days helping with household chores and exploring the village's surroundings. Isabel's family was humble. His father, Juan, worked hard as a farmer, while his mother, Helena, took care of the house and children. Despite the financial difficulties, there was an atmosphere of great unity and peace in the small brick house where they lived. Life, although modest, was full of laughter and moments of joy shared with family and some neighbors. One of Isabel's greatest pleasures was exploring the forest that surrounded the village. She loved listening to Helena's stories about the forest spirits and ancient local legends. One of these stories talked about the enchanted wind, a benevolent spirit that, according to belief, helped those with a pure heart. But this only happened if there was merit. Isabel wondered if at some point in her life she would be faced with such an encounter, and she always wondered if she was worthy of seeing. A particularly harsh winter brought unimaginable hardships to Isabel's family. The harvest had been scarce and food reserves were almost exhausted. Snow covered the ground, making it impossible to plant crops or find food in the forest. Juan and Helena were desperate, trying in every way possible to keep their children fed and warm. Isabel, despite her young age, noticed her parents' anguish. One cold night, as the family gathered around the fireplace, she heard her parents talking in hushed tones about hunger and hopelessness. Determined to help, Isabel decided who would seek out the enchanted wind of legend, believing he could save his family. Before dawn, when everyone was asleep, Isabel dressed in her warm clothes and took a risk on a dangerous adventure. She headed to the forest without telling anyone about her plan. He walked for an hour, facing the biting cold and deep snow, calling on the enchanted wind and asking for help. Exhausted, she finally stopped beside an ancient oak tree, where she sat down and tearfully whispered a fervent prayer. "Please, enchanted wind, help my family. We don't know what else to do." Isabel, despite being in unfavorable conditions, fell asleep for a few minutes, and when she realized it, a soft wind began to blow, caressing Isabel's face. But there was something very different about this wind. The girl felt like it was warm air, which was completely unexpected in a completely freezing environment. Hot winds as well as high temperatures were completely unusual and made no sense. Isabel opened her eyes and saw an ethereal figure before her, shrouded in soft light. At first, she widens her eyes and is amazed, but then she remembers that what was before her eyes could be the answer to her prayer. And without refuting her critical thinking, she surrenders to the knowledge she had received about it. There was no doubt that it was the enchanted wind from her mother's stories, she thought. "Fear not, little Isabel," said the figure in a gentle voice. "Your pure heart and courage brought me here. Go back to your family and sleep in peace." Isabel was amazed and tried to thank her, but before she could utter a word, the figure disappeared and the wind stopped. She returned home, feeling a mixture of euphoria and hope, but knew she couldn't share that experience with anyone, especially her parents. After all, she had risked her own life too much. As soon as the first rays of sunlight came out, Juan woke up and, looking outside the window, was amazed. Something extraordinary had happened. The wind blew again, but this time it brought with it a miraculous transformation. The fields around the village, which were covered in snow and ice, began to bloom. Plants and vegetables magically grew from the frozen ground, offering an abundance of food. Nothing in science could explain this, and months later, due to the fame of what had happened, local reports and even some army officers even carried out research on the ground. Juan was astonished to see the green beds full of crops. He ran back home, calling Helena and the children to see the miracle that had occurred. The news quickly spread throughout the village, and everyone came to witness the field full of fresh food in the middle of winter. The most impressive thing was that just outside the family's small house this event occurred, causing even more strangeness to everyone. Juan, in an act of solidarity, invited the villagers, who, in disbelief, did not react, but under Juan's insistence, they also began to harvest the vegetables and fruits. Isabel watched with a secret smile. She knew that the wind spell had answered her prayer and saved her family and her community from starvation. Life in the village of San Vicente changed completely after that day. The miracle brought not only sustenance, but also renewed faith and hope among the villagers. Isabel never told anyone about her encounter with the enchanted wind, but she kept the experience in her heart as a reminder of the kindness that can emerge in times of greatest despair. And so, the legend of the enchanted wind endured, passed from generation to generation, as a symbol of hope and the strength of the human heart. The story in Isabel's family became an inspiration, reminding everyone that, even in the darkest moments, miracles can happen, guided by the purity of intentions and the courage of a girl determined to save her family. Helena, Isabel's mother, revealed her story years later to a cousin in the city and told him that she never really believed in the legend of the enchanted wind. When she was little, she had heard it from her late grandmother and, as entertainment, shared with his eldest daughter, Isabel. Despite not believing it, she said that that miracle seemed completely strange to her and confessed to her cousin that there was no other explanation other than that the legend had proven real. But Isabel never doubted. She simply believed in her mother's every word, and when the need arose in her family, she used pure faith and saw a great miracle happen. Isabel believed, and at the same time, she went after it. There is no better lesson for success than this.